Peace, and welcome to another episode of Elevate the Mic. And I'm your host, Max Mupese. Today, we have a guest who I consider a dear friend, somebody who's loyal, somebody who has great character, and somebody you could learn from, whether it's entertainment, culture, and life in general. He has a great perspective. And let us all welcome a producer, co-founder of Six Cinquieme, Miro LaFlaga. How you doing, man?
What's going on, my brother?
Feeling well, man.
Yo, love that intro.
Trust me, I
I
appreciate
feel so special.
Hey man, we got to embrace that special side of us. You know, we all got that. You know what I mean?
Nah, for sure. Nah, yo, thank you for having me. Feel blessed to be here. Saturday morning. I'm a little tired, but but we're making it happen.
That's it, man. You know what I mean? So, what would you say is something that's making you feel grateful these days? If you just look at how you're moving on a day-to-day.
Something that's making me feel grateful these days. I would say, being able-bodied. You know what I mean? Being able to like walk and just wake up in the morning. I try to find a lot of, just to be grateful for those small things, because like with the type of lifestyle I'm in and the type of people I'm around and stuff like that, it's very easy to kind of get in a mindset where you feel like you're not doing enough, you want more and stuff like that, and that could put you in a I want to say a negative mindset, but it can make you not be grateful for the small things. So I've been practicing a lot to just be grateful to even just walk up the stairs, for example. How many people can't not walk up the stairs,
Trust me.
Or there's so many people who don't even get to wake up the next morning. So those are the things, the small things like that,
Got it. Gratitude is the attitude.
100%, man, 100%.
And people don't know, you were born in Uptown, Côte-des-Neiges, if I'm not mistaken, and then you grew up in NDG?
Yeah. I grew up, I was born in Goye,
Okay.
specifically, but yeah, Uptown. First few years of my life, I don't really remember that, but when my mom first came here from Jamaica, that was where she and my pops like lay down and everything like that. So we were there for a minute, and then we moved to NDG, and I consider myself more of a DG person,
DG guy.
you know what I mean? Because that's where I learned a lot, met a lot of people, and like that really built up my character for who I am, So yeah.
Got it. And could you tell us about the story behind the name Miro LaFlaga? Because you had another name before, and how did that change? Like, what was the process like?
When I say I had another name before, it's just like, me as Flacco.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, growing up in NDG, we all had, all had our nicknames, like yours was Twiggy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for people who don't know, you know what I'm saying? But like, that was just the name. Flacco comes from, my grandfather's, it was my grandfather's nickname. It means, it derives from flaquito, which is skinny. You know what I mean? He has like Cuban heritage and stuff of that nature. So that was just a nickname that I just was calling myself at the time, But the Miro LaFlaga came from the aspect of, it's just really an invented name, bro. It doesn't really there's no like deep meaning behind it. It was just that when I was putting myself out there as an artist, I wanted to just have a name that just embodies that. And I felt like Miro LaFlaga went well together. You know what I mean? It sounded like an artist name, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go with that name, and that was the vibes,
Trust me, and it's catchy too. Like, it makes people think, like, what does that mean? Is there a meaning behind that?
Yeah, there's no meaning behind it, folks. So like, don't worry about it. There's no meaning behind it. It's just a cool name,
Right.
It's a drippy name.
I like that you talked about character and growing up in NDG shaped your character. Could you tell us about an actual moment, whether it was in high school, teenage years, that shaped your character, an actual moment that made you think, okay, you know what, I think that's what I'm gonna take as a route, just be myself?
I don't know if it was an actual moment, man, to be very honest with you. I think it was just a combination of just different experiences, bro. Like, I think just being around so many different individuals from different backgrounds, different life experiences, also how my mother raised me as well too. I think that just kind of molded my perspective on life and made me very confident to be who I am. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say it was a specific moment. I think it was just a combination of just different experiences, honestly, to keep it a stack. You know?
Got it. It's like it's a puzzle at the end of the day. You know, just
Yeah.
going through X, Y, Z, and then having your mother teaching you certain things, and
Yeah.
and then you create your own persona or your own character at the end of the day.
Yeah, bro. I think like our generation and how we grew up, I think we were very lucky, bro. Like I don't know if it's just a DG thing, bro, but I felt like people from our neighborhood or like around our age group and where we were growing up at that time, like I feel like we just kind of, you know, we were just kind of in a space where we were very confident to be who we were. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't really follow no specific mold. When I just think about different people who just came from our areas, you know.
Right.
So
Right, and you could see it in a lot of artists that come from that neighborhood too.
yeah,
I know what you mean.
100%.
100%. Now, you also said one of the first things or one of the first art forms that inspired you or even made you realize how important it was in your life was hip hop. Could you tell us about the early times of hip hop? Because we were just talking about how we used to listen to Limp Bizkit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Hip hop was always a big player in my life at that time and still is as well. I think it was, you know, as a young black boy, just being exposed to that and just seeing like that raw energy and, you know, other male figures, you know what I mean, representation and all of that stuff. And it just kind of like, it helped me build a universe. And I was just exposed to that very young, you know what I'm saying? So hip hop influenced me in terms of fashion, in terms of my taste, in terms of like self-expression and all of that. Like that really played a huge factor into me. And like I said, like, you know, my sister was a lot older than me, so she was just buying all, you know, the Locks, DMX, you know what I mean, Mobb Deep and all of that. So I was just listening to her music that she had, you know, her CDs that she had. So I was just like, oh shit, you know, take her Walkman, her CD player, and just bump that shit, you know what I mean? And I was just like, yo, this is so gutter, this is so cool.
Trust me.
You know what
I mean, like Walkman, that's the times when people don't, like, for the Gen Zs that are watching this right now,
Yeah.
some of them don't necessarily know that Walkmans, a feeling of having a Walkman was completely different.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't necessarily skip a verse. You had
100%.
had
But
to
apparently
listen
they're
to.
coming back though. Like
Okay.
there's a lot of people who are buying them. Like those, like Gen Zs are actually buying like CD players and Walkman now.
Dope.
Like if you go online and go on eBay, you see like some of those prices. They're like they're selling for a lot now, bro, because they're trying to go back to that era. A lot of like, I feel like how like culture is right now, because everything is so fast paced.
Right.
People are trying to go back to that time where things were a little more tangible. You could take things in dosage. So there is there is a generation that are trying to go back and search up and buy like Walkman, CD players, vinyls, and experience that vibe that we grew up on. You know what I mean?
Thank you for the clarification. And it's not a shot to Gen Zs, by the way. Just making sure. And I also want to talk about the fact that you were a manager at one point. You managed a few artists. You always had an ear for talent. That's one thing I noticed about you. When we had times when we were on MSN back in the days, and then you would send us a few songs to listen to, and I was like, okay, why is this guy how does he find that song interesting? How does he find that song captivating? And from there, it helped me get a better ear for music. So,
Oh shit, that's sick. I didn't
man,
know
I
that.
appreciate that for real. No. And what would you say? What are some things that you were able to analyze, or even some things that you were able to notice from artists you work with, contrary to the artists that you were listening to?
I think, you know, how to put it, like for me personally, I feel like one thing I realized quickly was just that like the artists that I was listening to, like I did like their music, but I liked the entire package though. With the lifestyle too. The lifestyle, the brand, and how they did their music video, how they, you know, how they spoke in interviews, it was everything, the whole thing that came together. So it wasn't just the music. So if I look at, for example, my favorite artist of all time is Tupac, bro. You know, I love Tupac music, but me, it's more the aspect of like, you know, everything he did outside of music, you know what I'm saying, that just brought everything together. So when I was working with artists and things of that nature, that's one thing I realized really quickly. It was like, the music does play a factor, and some artists don't really like to hear that. Like,
Right.
the music does play a factor, but it's everything else that came behind that, you know? So when I was working with, you know, a specific group at the time, their name was Cash Wavy Boys, like,
Yeah.
I I understood that, and that's why I was just like, yo, you know what? You guys are Filipinos, you know what I mean? You guys have drip, you guys are cool, you know what I'm saying? There's something unique about you guys. Like, the music, that's gonna work, that's gonna come with time, but it's everything else beyond that, you know what I mean? I wanted to put together. So that was my opportunity to test that out, to really test to see like, okay, is my assumption right? And it was right, you know what I'm saying? So that's one thing in terms of difference, I start realizing real quickly, like, if I had to work with an artist today, like, the music has to be all right, but it's also everything else behind that that's, to me, is more important. Like,
Right.
you know, do you got drip? Do you have a personality? Do you have a perspective? You know what I'm saying? Can you do stuff outside of music? You know what I mean? Can you be on the runway show? Can you be like, can you act? Can you know what I mean, design clothes? Like, I think all those other aspects develop you as a character, and I think that's what people are really in love with at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
It's the whole package at the end of the day.
yeah, you know what I mean? And like, I hate to quantify it as like package, but it is that, bro. You know what I mean? Like people want to fall in love with you. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I realized quickly.
The person behind the music.
Yeah.
That's important. Okay. You also are a co-founder of Six Cinquieme, which is a company, a big company that people need to know about. Could you tell us a little bit more about the company? And you've achieved quite a few milestones. Your partner and yourself and your team have achieved quite a few milestones, meaning work with Will Smith's company, which is huge. And I want you to elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so basically we're a strategic branding consultancy. So what we do, we work with medium to large scale company, and we help them identify what is their brand. So ultimately what we do is help them establish what is their mission or value and how to communicate that to their end user. You know what I mean? So we do that through design, strategic strategy, creative strategies, or consultants straight up. And you know, the industry that we work a lot in is in the nonprofit space, entertainment, and in the arts and culture. So those are the three industries that we mostly work in. And we officially incorporated in 2020.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
Shout
you.
outs to Ashley, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, we incorporated in 2020. Prior to that, we were just freelancing a bit, but it's 2020 that everything started to really like make sense. And you know, we were just very lucky. I want to say we're lucky. Like, we put work in, bro. Like, we put work in terms of putting
Fortunate enough.
Yeah. We put work in terms of like, you know, just networking, meeting people, putting ourselves out there, and little by little, like, you know, we got to, like I said, we work with Westbrook, which is Will Smith's production company. We got to rebrand that. We won a few design awards. We got to work on the rebrand for the NCC, you know, the NCC in Little Burgundy.
I've heard about yes.
Center. We helped rebrand it to the CCAD. Right now we're working with the Michael Jean Foundation as well too. So we're working with a lot of cool projects. Right now we're working with the city of Montreal, actually. And that's a huge one.
Serious,
Yeah,
man.
that's a huge project that we're working on. So we're working on with the city of Montreal in collaboration with Never Was Average. And basically we're building out a case study to basically help the design industry in Montreal become more inclusive, because there's a lack of representation. So we did a huge case study with other designers from racialized background, and we just kind of we're building up a guide where we're just going to help share with the wider design industry here in Montreal, to help them understand what kind of practices they need to start implementing to make their practice a lot more inclusive, pretty much, you know? So that's a very big project. Very proud that we're doing something like that, you know, very impactful. And yeah, man, so yeah.
It's impactful, like you said, and you also do workshops if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we do workshops as well too. So workshops, they vary. You know, so most of the workshops we do is in collaboration with another entity most of the time. So we do workshops either on where we kind of speak about our personal journey, or we just give business advice or branding advice. So it really varies depending on the circumstances. And yeah, and also we do speaking engagements as well too,
Yes.
like talking. Like right now we're actually going to Texas in October. Part of the Circles conference, so it's a design conference. So Ash and I is going to be speaking at that conference as well. So those are little things that we've been really like tapping into, like speaking, like public speaking and talking in front of crowds and stuff like that. Like that's crazy when I think about it. You know, you're talking in front of crowds.
It makes you think of oral presentations back then, or sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. You know, what's cool about that, bro? Like I get to show up as myself, bro. I think that's the sickest thing. Like I could show up like this, bro. You know what I'm saying? I show up like this, bro. Like, and I think to me that's the most badass thing. Like I go meetings with like I could go to meetings being who I am and not compromise on who I am to appease anyone, you know. So I'm very grateful to be in this position where it's like people want me to be part of their organization to do speak or do workshops and shit like that. I think that's super sick, you know.
They want to know, what does Miro think about this?
Yeah.
Like, could we get his input? Like,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's powerful, man. Shoot. And I want to double down on the fact that you mentioned inclusivity. Sorry, shoot.
Inclusivity.
Thank you. Inclusivity. Almost had a brain fog. So yeah, inclusivity. So could you tell us a little bit more about being an English-speaking Black person in Montreal? How has that been challenging for you to have that company, Six Cinquieme, with your partner? And what are some challenges you were able to overcome recently?
How would I say it was challenges? I don't know. I'm trying to like really reframe it, because I would say in the beginning there was a lot of challenges,
Right.
but now like I don't really pay attention to that. You know what I mean? So it's really hard for me to like really get into that mindset where it was just challenging. You know, I think, you know, it's a lot easy for us to get left out in certain conversations because we're not part of the wider conversation because of the fact that we're English speaking. But that don't really bother me no more, to be very honest with you. So it's really, so like I don't see it as like challenging. I see it as more as an advantage more than anything, because a lot of like, you know, I'm working with the city of Montreal, you know, it doesn't get no French than that, right? So like, and
can't put barriers on that whatsoever, man.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm working with clients outside of Canada, you know what I'm saying? So, and when I pitch to those clients, and when we pitch to those clients, like we pitched the idea that we're from Montreal. We pitched the idea that we're, you know, we're English speaking and we speak French as well too. We're surrounded by different cultures and stuff like that. That's a selling point, you know? So I highlight that a lot in my messaging and stuff like that, and it's became an advantage more than anything. So so me to come back and come back in the mindset where it's like, oh, it's a disadvantage, I don't really see it at that point no more. I think it was more as I think I used to see it more as a disadvantage because I wanted to be accepted. I want to be I wanted to become the conversation. But now I'm kind of like, I'm not really like fighting for that no more. I don't really care about that. Like, I'm really just trying to like I'm trying to go where I'm celebrated and just go what makes sense to me. And like, if you want to rock with it, you could rock with it. But if you don't, I don't have no bad blood towards you if you don't, you know?
Go where you celebrate and not tolerated.
100%.
That makes a difference. And it goes back to what you were saying. You being yourself, being authentic at what you do.
100%.
It's just going to make you, it's going to align you with people who appreciate you and want to do business with
100%.
you just because of who you are and the work you put in.
100%.
That's
100%.
interesting. Okay, and I also want to talk about your Twitter account because I've been following you on Twitter for some time, and I noticed that you tend to have sometimes some provocative thoughts, which is good, which is actually needed. Actually, what would you say? Why would you say it's important for you to speak your truth?
I don't know if it's important for me to speak my truth.
Mm.
I don't think it's important because my opinion, like, it's just my opinion. You know, I'm not that important for like
Right.
people to like really focus on it. I think it's important for me to express myself, but I don't think it's important for everyone else to be aware that what I'm expressing. You know, so like, oftentimes, unless I'm asking a direct question, I really just tweet for myself most of the time. You know, I just really just like it's just on my on my mind, and it's just a thought that like a random thing, and I just kind of use it for that. But yeah, like I I'm not really afraid to speak my mind. Like there's certain things that like I might refrain from saying because I'm just like I don't want to start certain conversations and people are just in my mentions and shit like that. And I just don't want to get into none of that.
Right.
But for the most part, like I don't know where that come from, bro. Like I'm
It's
just like I said, it just comes from me, bro. Most of the time, it's just conversations that I'm having with myself internally, and it just happens to happen on Twitter.
It's like the so be it. You know, I'm saying whatever I say.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
fuck it.
Yeah, exactly,
Got
exactly.
it. Got it. All right. And what lesson have you learned working with Ashley that shaped your character as a person?
It shaped my character as a person. You can't accomplish things on your own. You know what I'm saying? That's huge. I think also like it helped me understand what my flaws are, you know what I'm saying, and understand that like, yo, okay, I need to be around someone who complements my flaws, you know. So for example, I'm not a detail person. I'm a very big picture person. So like I could look at the bigger plan
Like a
and be like,
visionary.
yeah, visionary. I could look at the bigger plan and be like, yo, this is where we need to go there, and these are the steps that we need to do, whatever, whatever. But the granular step by step, I don't have the patience for that, and that's not what I'm good at, you know. Ash, on the other hand, is the opposite, you know what I mean? So she's more on the granular and stuff like that. So it's me just understanding, like, me as myself, like, okay, I'm not good at that, you know what I'm saying? I'm good at this, and understanding that, like, okay, if I'm gonna work with individuals, I need to make sure that they're good at this, you know, like, so me, I pride myself of working with people who are perfectionists, because I'm not a perfectionist, you know what I'm saying? So I need to make sure that I'm surrounded by people who are super perfectionists. They love the detail and stuff like that.
Meticulous.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I think in terms of my character, is just, you know, understand what my flaws are and just like quickly identifying what those are and just understanding what I need to help get over them or work on them. So it's, yeah,
Got it.
type of shit, you know.
You mentioned that your company does consultation. So I want to ask you this question for artists who are watching this at this very moment. As we know, branding plays a huge role in hip hop. What would you say is something that is currently unique in branding based on your observation that artists could apply to their day to day?
In their day to day.
Yeah.
What can they say? That's very hard to say because I don't really work with artists as much anymore. So it's hard for me to get in that mindset of an artist, you know. But one thing I would say is that and it might be common, but I think a lot of artists need to think of themselves as a business, you know, and you know, a term in business is there's a thing called diversification,
Right.
you know, developing different streams of revenue of
Right.
income.
Income.
I think that's very important, and understanding what can those different streams can be, but they're still tied towards the message of your brand or whatever your brand is, you know. So it's like, not saying that you need to start like selling cookies on the side and you're like it's like, okay, it doesn't make sense. It has to make sense.
Align.
It has to be aligned with whatever vision and everything you put out there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like, I think it's, so if you're like a very fashionable artist, for example, I think it would make sense if you collaborate with a designer and you have your own collection. You know what I mean? Something like that. Or but I see a lot of artists doing a lot of interesting things. You know, I see artists that are like even like directing and doing all these, just really like getting out the mold of just making music. You know what I'm saying? I think once you start seeing yourself as a business,
Right.
it helps. But I think it's very hard for artists to do that, because at the end of the day, you're an artist. You just want to make art. You don't want to be thinking about business, right? So I think the other side of it is to align yourself with individuals or with people who have that business mindset, but at the same time could still respect the art. You know what I mean? So I think one thing about me, not saying that I would manage any artist, but
Right.
I think you guys need someone like me in a sense of like, I understand the art, but I also understand the business side of it too. And I could understand the compromises I need to
Nuances.
make on both sides to reach agreement. You know what I'm saying? So like, if we have a specific timeline, how do you communicate that to an artist to make sure that like, okay, we need to compromise on X, Y, Z, and try to have that conversation with the artist and see where they feel comfortable with in terms of compromising on things like that. And it's even the same thing in my own business as well too, because it's like Ash is on the creative director side and me, I'm more on the business management aspect. So the creativity and the business aspect, they kind of clash sometimes, but
Right.
we have to have that conversation of like, okay, like how what do we chop off to be like, okay, like we still deliver our time, we still deliver a product that's up to quality, but it makes sense financially at the same time. So I think as artists, I think it's important to just be around someone or entities that have that perspective.
A business perspective.
Yeah, it's super important.
Okay. It makes me think of Nipsey Hussle's business model, what you
Yeah.
talked about, like him creating businesses that were aligned with his values and his beliefs.
Yeah.
So that's something that people could take in consideration or even apply in their business model if they can.
100%.
All right. Okay. And several organizations have collaborated with Six Cinquieme. One of them was Never Was Average. You guys do a lot of great projects. I haven't had the chance to be or even present myself there. I noticed that there's a lot of things going on. You guys talk about mental health and a lot of great things that are important in the community. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, Never Was Average is run by Harry and Joanna,
Yes.
and those are that's just the homies right there. You know what I mean? So when me and Ash first started, like, like I remember seeing them on social and stuff like that, and I guess people used to say things because it's like, it's me and Ash, and it's Harry and Joanna. You know what I mean? A man and a woman both running an organization.
Okay, got it,
And
right.
people were just like, oh shit, it's kind of cool, And I think it was just Harry who reached out to me. I think he reached out to me saying, he was like, yo, let's just meet up. So me and Ash just met up with him and him and Joanna, had a conversation, and it's like we just kicked it off from there. Like it was just straight up love, you know what I mean? And then when I saw that, like, Harry, a lot of friends that he grew up with, or a lot of his friends, people that I knew, like, and it was just like, oh shit. And like, they're just very cool. Like outside the business shit, it's just like they're just
Genuine people.
You know what I mean? I'm about to go get a tattoo session right now, and Harry's gonna pull up at the tattoo session with me right now. So that's the type of like energy that we're on. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's very important to just build those type of relationships outside of just business per se. And what they're doing is very dope. So they do like a lot of conversations. They do production as well too, and they're very big on being intentional on the type of projects that they do. So I think this is our third time collaborating. First time we collaborated, I think they did this event called the Black Conversations at the Phi Center. So they collaborate with us to kind of help build out the visual identity for the event, and then they had another project that we collaborated on, and now the one with the city of Montreal, we're collaborating with this on together, you know. So it's just genuine, bro. Like I don't even know how to even like even go further from that, but it's just genuine love, and it's just, you know, very organic, nothing forced. If it doesn't make sense, we're very open to have like conversations, like if stuff doesn't align or we're not. Like even working together, sometimes we're just like, yo, we might have disagreements on things, and we just have those conversations to be like, yo, that don't feel right with us, or they don't feel right with them. And I think it's super sick to see like two Black-owned organizations here in Montreal. You know, me and Ash is representing the West, and they're representing like the East, the North as well. I think John is originally from Montreal North, I might be mistaken. But just to see that collaboration is just like, it's just based on love, bro. Like that means a lot to me, you know what I mean?
And it's proof that it could happen, like, because there's a lot of conversations about, okay, you know, Montreal, the East and the West can't necessarily collaborate. They don't see eye to eye, but you guys are doing it. And it's there's
we're
proof.
leading by example, and we always talk about that. We always talk about like we're leading by example, and that's the mission, you know what I mean?
That's dope. So one thing I also want to talk about was, you've also said that one of your greatest motivations in the past was that you moved out of fear. Can you tell us about the change it took in your life for you to move out of survival and into thriving mode?
I think once I reached a certain level of stability, for sure, that plays an
Makes a
aspect.
whole difference. It's a big difference.
Beyond that, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that like I want to take care of more of my mental health as well too, because like kind of going back to what I was saying before, like this idea of like the industry I'm in, and like the position I'm in and everything like that. There's I wouldn't say there's a rat race, but there's levels to it, bro. And like you can always feel like when you're accomplishing things and it doesn't feel like it's enough. So, and I think a lot of that came from the fact of like the survival mode, me personally. So I think I had to really take a step back and realize like, yo, nah, bro, like I need to chill. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing what I need to do. I'm going at my own rate. I'm going at my own pace, and really start taking time for myself, and start realizing that like I can't just constantly be moving on like survival and just kind of like, you know, neglecting aspects of my own personal life. So I think I need to take a slow down and start appreciating things, and start to reevaluate what's motivating me to get up every morning and move, you know? Because like I said before, it was just like, yo, it's survival. Like, nah, I need to get better. I need to get bigger. I need to do this bigger. I need to do a bigger project. I need to do this. And I still have that. Not saying that's not there. That's still there. But that's not the leading thing that's like pushing me, bro, you know?
It's your health, your mental health,
Yeah,
your
you know,
well-being.
because I need to be 100 in order to make sure that I'm able to perform, bro. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not, if I don't feel good, I don't look good, I don't do none of that shit, I'm not gonna be able to produce at the level I want to produce at. So it just doesn't make sense. So
Got it.
I need to step back, you know?
And what is the one biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur or a founder of a company, co-founder, that you would immediately tell a person starting a business today?
Yo, the biggest lesson, I think it applies to everything, but you need to constantly, I think that there's two biggest lessons. Constantly be around people who are smarter than you. Yo, you need to be around people who are super, like, way smarter and doing way better than you, and who genuinely wants to help you, though. You know what I'm saying? But just be around people, like, if you're in a room and it's like you're the one who's, you know, the top dog or whatever the case may be, that's a dub, man. Don't waste your time on that. Like, be around people who are, like, intellectually better than you in other things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, this person is amazing in business. This person is amazing, is an amazing chef. Like, I don't know how to cook, but this person knows how to cook. It could be anything, but just constantly be in that mindset, because I think that's how you learn. And I think sometimes in Montreal, there's this level of comfort, you know what I mean? Because everyone's kind of, at a certain level, you reach that plateau and then everyone just kind of becomes comfortable, you know what I'm saying? So it's easy to just kind of be around that. So I think it's very important to just be around other people who just are, who's a lot, I want to say smarter than you, but just more like
more experienced
than
That's
you,
more
and
wisdom.
who could just kind of like, yeah, that you could just learn from, you know what I mean? I think that's super, extremely important. And also, experience other industries as well too. I think, you know, I think the thing that helped us a lot too is also because of the nature of our business, because we get to work with different people in different industries. But being exposed to other people in other industries does help you have a certain competitive advantage. So, you know, yeah, we run a firm, but it wouldn't make sense that we only just network with other design firms. It doesn't make sense.
Got it.
You know, so we, you know, talk to business owners who run tech companies, or people who run a lawyer firm, or someone like just other industries that we could just learn from and just adopt it in our own industry, so we could have a competitive advantage, you know?
Okay, and it keeps you guys well versed also.
Yeah.
Understanding the marketplace in general.
100%.
Okay.
So I think those are like the two big advice I would give to someone who's starting out.
Hey, I hope they got a pen and a paper and start taking notes, man, because this is free game right here. And I want to move on to this segment called, basically, if you had the chance to. So it's a segment where you're looking at your 16-year-old self, you're in front of that person, and if you had the chance to say a few words to that person, what would the words be, and how would you approach the conversation?
I would just say, yo, everything's gonna turn out fine. I think that would be my only thing. Everything's gonna turn out fine. You know what I mean? Like, because I think, although I was like I was someone who just thread the line of being carefree, but at the same time, very anxious about like the future and shit like that too. You know, so that's why I moved the way I moved. But I was very anxious about that, and I think if I had someone who just constantly told me like, yo, it's gonna be all right, it's chill, like you're doing the right moves, you know, I think that would be amazing. But probably I needed to go through that and have that anxiousness to be where I am today. So it's kind of like that weird thing where it's like, I don't know if that's a good advice.
Right.
But I think it would just be along the lines of that, like just once in a while, just be like, yo, everything's gonna be all right. Just chill. You know?
You think it also goes back to what you said earlier? You wanted to be stable, financially stable, was one of the reasons why you were anxious and always thinking about the future. Okay, like how's this gonna happen? How can I control this situation?
Yeah, for sure, bro. Like, I think that's huge. Like, growing up where we're growing up, you know, like, our parents didn't really have that much, you know, and you know, in my household, you know, the conversation with money and situation with money was very a touchy subject. So I think this idea of being financially stable and all of that was a big motivation, you know, like motivating for me in the beginning of my journey and everything I was doing, you know. And now it's less. Like getting paid is cool, but I don't really, that's not the thing that drives me as much anymore. You know, I think what drives me is just have an impact, bro. I want to have huge impact. I want to change, like, I want to change perspective. I want to change how people view the world, how they view themselves. I want to give people hope. You know what I mean? Because I know there's a lot of people who look like me, who probably a lot younger, who just feel like super hopeless, and they're like, yo, the fuck? You know what I mean? So I want to give I just want to give people hope. All people, you know, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to even look like me, but I just want to give people hope. Like that's the thing that drives me now, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I asked you the question about your Twitter account, because I was able to understand that the impact you're creating, the impact you want to create, is important, and it's also important for you to share your truth. But you may see it as like, you know, it is what it is. But some people are gonna, you know, soak that in and really apply the information you're giving. That's powerful, man.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, bro.
So what can we expect from your company in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, man, I think it's something that I've been preaching in the last few years. Actually, it's just diversifying more. Like right now, like we're doing a lot of branding, designing work and stuff like that. But we definitely want to branch out and do other forms of medium, you know, media, I should say. Like I want to produce my own graphic novel. I want to produce, you know, web series, TV shows, you know, probably design furniture, you know, like I really want to just kind of like start experimenting and just really producing other forms of like things, I should say. Right now we're starting with Brandon, but I think what's very cool that the fact that we're starting with Brandon, and Brandon is very you know, it has a good relationship with marketing, so
Right.
so we have that good foundation of like branding, and we have an idea of how marketing works. So I think it gives us a lot of advantage if we're gonna start producing other creative things. So if we produce a show, for example, yeah, we're gonna be make sure that the show is good, but we're gonna also be looking at it from a branding and marketing perspective as well too. So I think whatever, I think that's really that, you know, is to really expand the bubble of creativity that we're in right now, and that's what you could expect.
Got it. Last few questions. Looking into the future, how do you want people to remember Miro LaFlaga, or even Flaco, as?
Shit. I did it my own way. I did it my own way, man. I did it my own way, and I did it my own way. I did it in style. I did it while not compromising who I was, and I kept it authentic throughout. I think, remember me personally, I think that's the most important thing to me, because you know, sometimes I go in these meetings or I'm in these environments and it's like I don't belong in these environments, and I love that.
You
I
could tell, you
love,
could sense
I'm
it,
like,
huh?
I don't belong in here, and I love that energy. I'm like, yes,
Because you're in control, you know what I
yes,
mean?
I'm
Like, you move out, like, I don't need a buck, I don't need money, fuck that.
you
Like,
know what I'm saying? I'm like, yes, I love that. So like, you know, sometimes I can tell that some people don't like that I'm there, and I'm like, yes, I like that. I feed off that energy. So the fact that I'm like, yo, I'm able to do it on my own terms, I think that's super important for me. Like, I think I'll be happy with that. So if you want to remember by anything, I think it will be that.
that's dope, man. That's
You know what I
dope.
mean?
And how could viewers stay in touch with you and learn more about your company, consultation, and all of that?
Yeah, man.
Tell people.
If you wanna stay tapped in, you know what I mean. First and foremost, go to sixcinquieme.com. So that's SIXCINQUIEME.com. Six Cinquieme on Instagram, Twitter, my personal, and on LinkedIn too. Six Cinquieme, and me is Miro LaFlaga, MIROLAFLAGA. I'm on everything: Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Tap in with me, and you have all your information there. But yeah, that's really it. You're gonna put those in the show notes, right?
Absolutely. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
just making sure. You know what I'm saying? But
You're
yeah,
gonna
man,
see
that's the
that
best way
below.
to tap in with me and just reach out.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure having you here, man.
Yeah, it's all love,
It's
man.
amazing to see your growth and to see your evolution as a person. A lot of people may not know you from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 13, 15, 20 years ago, but like I could tell you're constantly evolving. Like,
Nah,
you know,
nah,
and that's
nah. But yo, salute to you too, bro. The same
uh,
thing about you too. Evolution too. Like, You know what I mean? Like it's not just me, man. But I'm seeing everything that you've been doing, and like a lot of people don't know. Me and Max go back like yo, what since like what?
Elementary,
Yo,
elementary.
elementary, like I was like 8 years old and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like that's crazy. I'm about to turn 35 in 2 weeks, bro. Like, you know what I mean? So that's huge, bro. That we're still in contact and we still know each other and stuff like that. And we're from the same environment. That's huge, bro. Like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it's cool that we're seeing both of us elevate and just do different things. So you know what I mean? The
absolutely,
feelings
man.
are mutual, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
You know what I mean?
All
It's
right,
all love, bro. Appreciate you having me,
100%.
100%.
Love. There we have it, another episode of Elevate the Mic, where we elevate the mindsets and the skill sets of individuals who are part of the hip hop community. Peace.